Everything you desire is waiting for you to claim it. There's no creating involved, only invention through imagination and building through action. You are at the center of all your desires, dreams, and achievements. Welcome to Designing Your Life Today, the podcast that's all about your success, achieving your goals, building wealth through your business, and building your most passionate, powerful, magnificent life. Discover ways to use your purpose to connect you to serving others and living your dreams. I am Pat Council, and I know you are built by design to win. And it all begins with knowing how to tap into your success energy. Let's get on the path of discovery, decisive action, development, and unwavering dedication to your life's calling. It's time to embark on a transformative journey where your deepest passions become your most rewarding achievements. Embrace your power to shape your destiny, because this is your moment to do life with power. Hello, Power Up Nation. Pat Council here on Designing Your Life Today. And I would like to talk about your mindset and integrity. Now, when you hear the word integrity, sometimes we automatically think this is about keeping your word to someone, doing what you said you would do if you made a promise to someone. But I want to talk about this in relation to goal setting and goal achievement. So when I was sitting back, reflecting on my own goals, reflecting on this past year, and thinking about what would I like to achieve for next year. Now, it's not about achieving simply for the sake of achievement. It is about achieving for the sake of aligning with who you were designed to be. If everyone could get that message, then things would be a lot better in our world. People are always trying to be someone they're not. People are copying someone else and listening to someone else's way of, let's say, being or thinking without processing it and deciding if that works for them. Even the words that I'm saying, it's up to you to process what I'm saying and to decide, does this work for me? Does this make sense? Will this align with the direction that I'm going in my life? So when we talk about your mindset and integrity, what we're talking about is, first of all, I'm going to kind of start with integrity. First of all, keeping your promises to yourself. I've done a podcast on this before, but I want you to think in terms of the goals that you set over the years. How many of those goals have you achieved? How many of those promises have you kept? The promises, understand this. When you're setting a goal, you're making a promise to yourself. So this is all about you. This show today is all about you. It is about you not being afraid to tap into your magnificence. We live in a time where if you seem to be expanding your thinking and wanting to grow and wanting to become something more, then you're being arrogant or you're being greedy, or why can't you just be satisfied? That's not how we're built. We're built to evolve. We're built to go to the next level. And you know what? Some basic proof of that. If you think about your computer, if you have a computer and you think about some of the software programs that are in your computer, if you notice, there's always a different version coming out. It is a newer version. It is a different version. And there's always something more in the world of technology. I mean, years ago, we did not have artificial intelligence. Now, we had some level of artificial intelligence, but not like it is today, where people rely on it more so than they rely on their own thinking. But I want you to consider this, that you have the ability to do whatever it is you desire to do. So let's get back to integrity a little bit, and then we're going to kind of bring mindset into all of this. So when we talk about integrity, keeping your word to yourself, what goals have you set for the coming year that will allow you to follow through, that will allow you to keep your promises to yourself? And see, here's the beauty of it. When you keep your promises to yourself, your world becomes better, but so does the rest of the world. Other people, they are encouraged by your courage. They are encouraged by your follow through. And it is not always easy to follow through. And this is where mindset comes in, because we refuse to expand our mindset. And expanding your mindset isn't necessarily all about, let's say, changing it, even though it is a kind of change, but it is about allowing it to evolve. It is about listening to the part of your mind that says you are magnificent, that you are built by design to win, that you are all that the people that you're listening to, the powers, so-called powers that be, are not in fact more powerful than you. You perhaps are as powerful, and in some cases you may be more powerful than them. But it doesn't come through, and it doesn't happen because we want to stay in the container that someone else put us in. So when we talk about mindset and staying in that container that someone else built for you, that means you are not being honest with yourself. You are not being your true self. You are not being what we call your authentic self. We hear a lot about being authentic. And people think that being authentic means, sometimes for women, it means, oh, I'm going gray, so I'm not going to color my hair. Okay, fine. But is being authentic also for those who are coloring their hair? Yes, because that's who you feel like you are. So, and this is kind of a fine line. My point is, you get to make the rules for your life, but you have to follow those rules. And here's the caveat. Those rules cannot will not supersede the spiritual principles that have existed since the beginning of time. Okay, that is the only caveat. But if you align with those rules and you decide this is who I am, then no one else, really, they can say what they like, but it's kind of none of their business. Okay, that is the nicest way I knew how to say that. The point is, we have to have the courage to be who it is we were called to be, as well as who we desire to be. Now, when I say who we desire to be, someone will take that and run with it and go, well, if I decided I want to be an elephant, I can be an elephant. If I decide I want to be a tiger, I can be a tiger. No, ridiculous. No, you cannot. Okay. Why? Because it supersedes the spiritual laws. It supersedes what's also universal principles that were put in place by spiritual laws, by God. So you can't go beyond that. However, you can decide, I want to be wealthy, because you know what? God's okay with that. And of course, here's one of my scriptures where in the Bible, it says it's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And you know what? This is about you receiving divine favor. This is about you understand that God delights in giving you that divine favor. Well, you said, well, wait a minute. You said I could be rich. Well, that is a part of divine favor. Why would you not want to have wealth? Okay. And we're talking about wealth across the board. We're talking about good health. We're talking about your finances. We're talking about all of that, better relationships. Why would you not want all of those things? Because these are things that we must have in order to thrive. Okay. And so think about it. If you have no money, how do you buy food? If you have no money, how do you pay for shelter? God doesn't want you living outside, perhaps in a struggle, I should say, or in inclement weather that will affect your health. So think about these things. So when we talk about your mindset, it is important that you allow your mindset to expand. One of the things that will cause your mindset to expand is integrity, being honest with you, embracing who you are. You don't have to be like everyone else. Sometimes there are people who play the role because they want to fit in. And that's up to you if you want to do that. But here's the thing. How do you feel at the end of the day? How do you feel? I don't think that I ever have to play a role. As a matter of fact, I think I've been through that. In all honesty, I have to confess, I've been through that where I wanted to fit in, okay, wanted to have friends. And you know what? I had to make a decision that this isn't my life. Those people who are wanting me to be something that I don't think I am, that doesn't feel good to me. Okay. And so this is when I was brand new in real estate, and I was struggling financially. And I had other things going on in my life as well. Okay. Personally. So I had a lot going on in my life. And there were certain friends that I had in my life at that time. And those friends, they didn't mean any harm, but this was their thought process. The more I wanted to excel, the more they talked about how certain people or certain races wouldn't let me excel. Let me. The Bible does not say if you're of a certain color, you can't succeed. Of a certain national origin, you can't succeed. Ethnic makeup, you can't succeed. Okay. It says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. So these things are just that. Things that would include the money, the car, the house. But the object of the game is to not make that the most important thing in your life. It is God first, then your family, and then, of course, your calling or your job, if you will. And then the things will come. So, but I listened to some of the things that they were saying, and everything that they were saying, it was about me being small. It was about me being angry. It was about me blaming someone else for certain positions in my life. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes there are people who do things to you that will affect the outcome of your life, but that does not mean that they have, well, let me rephrase that, affect the outcome of your life momentarily. Okay. That doesn't mean that it has to be permanent. Okay. You need to seek the help you need to seek, talk to whoever you need to talk to, learn what you need to learn, apologize if you need to apologize, make the necessary adjustments mentally, emotionally, and connect with your spirit, these things, and put things on track and align with who you were called to be. This is what will cause your mindset to expand. Acceptance is a big deal. So as you start to put your goals together and write your goals down for the coming year, then one of the things that you want to consider is when you look back, ask yourself, did I keep my word to myself? Did I promise that I was going to do the things that I said I was going to do? Now, this isn't about beating yourself up. This is about you making a decision. In other words, you look at it and go, yeah, I said I was going to do this, but in my heart of hearts, I really didn't want to do it. I really wasn't excited about it. I really wasn't feeling this. So now you set a new goal. And this goal is more powerful. You set a different goal. It's more powerful because it's identity powered. It is rooted in who you truly were called to be and who you truly desire to be. And when I say desire, I'm saying align. That desire is enhanced by you stepping into your most authentic self, your most authentic calling. Being responsible enough to say, yes, this is my gift and I'm going to step into it. I'm going to do this. I don't need anybody's permission. I don't need anybody's approval. I don't need anybody controlling the outcome of it. I only am going to follow this path that God laid out for me. And so when you start to do that, your goal setting is so much more powerful. It's going to take you where you truly desire to be. And you know what? Here's the kicker. Sometimes we don't even know that's where we want to be. Okay. We think that we want to go there, and that's where it starts. But then it opens up so much more to us. And we go, wow, I never thought it would be this great. I never thought my life would be like this great, this magnificent. Okay, and you say, really, Pat? If you can't think it, you can't have it. But this is how it works. It starts with a thought. Okay, and this is why the mindset has to evolve. It has to expand. Okay, and this lines up with the scripture that says, now unto him who's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we think, all that we can think or ask, according to the power that worketh in me. That's one of my most favorite scriptures of all times. And usually that is what I call my base scripture for the year, my anchor scripture. And I remind myself, wow, I can have more than what I can think, but I have to open the door with a thought. Okay. Because I have to accept it. And see, we're going to kind of wrap up on this because this is a lot to understand, I think, over time, and a lot to consider embracing. Because when we start to embrace who we really are, we feel that amazing power that God has put in us. And when we feel that amazing power, all of a sudden we begin to see what we're capable of doing. And we start to do it. And then other people will see it, and then they'll start to do it. You see, this is what prevents people from complaining constantly about what the government is or isn't doing. These are other adults. You're an adult. You can make your decisions. The difference between sometimes people who win, the difference period between people who win versus those who don't is the ones who win are willing to do what the people who aren't winning are not willing to do. They know this is something that they need to do. They know a lot of times what they need to do, but they don't do it. And they say, well, I don't really know. If I knew what I needed to do, I would do it. Well, if you know that you don't know, then here's what you do know, that there's more for you to learn. So it starts with a decision. And this is where your mindset again comes into play. And then this is where integrity pushes you forward. Your mindset says, hey, this is what I see for my life, and I deserve to have this. Your integrity says, yes, you deserve to have it. But are you willing to work for it? Are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to be obedient to your calling? Again, back to a biblical scripture says obedience is better than sacrifice. Are you willing to be obedient to not just your calling, but to the principles that were put in place long before you or I ever existed? So think about this when you're setting your goals. Ask yourself the right questions and you will get better answers, and you will get a better outcome because you're going to set stronger goals, clearer goals, more powerful goals. Your integrity plays a huge role. And I'm sharing this, you guys, because and I'm actually just kind of talking. So anyway, I'm just kind of riffing, if you will. And so the reason why is because I was thinking this morning, and as I thought about my goals that I've set, and I said to myself, wow, okay, some of the things that you said you were going to do the previous year, well, you didn't get them done. Now, I got some good things done, but there was a lot of things that I didn't get done as well. So I looked at the things I didn't get done, and then I had to make some decisions. Okay. And it's not about beating yourself up. Again, it is about acknowledging. Okay. It's about knowing the truth so you can be free to pursue greater truths. And the greater truth is for you to step into who God made you to be, because you're built by design to win. You're here to do life with power. You're not here to be afraid. You're not here to cower down. You're not here to listen to everything that the news says, coming from another adult and assuming that all of it is fact. Some of it might be facts, but all of it's not. Some of it is, if we can get more viewers, we can get more sponsors. See, you want to think that part through. But the point I was making is that as I was looking back at my own year and reflecting on the year, I asked myself the question, okay, why didn't you get this done? Well, some of the things I didn't get done, it really wasn't that important to me. I have this lots of ideas coming at me constantly. And this is how our minds work. Our imagination, it will take over. But the object of the game is for you to use that imagination to take you towards, let's say, delivering your calling, living within your calling, serving your purpose. Okay. Making that connection and getting that most magnificent life that you desire. You can have that even with all the things that are going on. You become a better example. So with that being said, as I started to look, I made a decision. All right. These are things that really didn't excite me as much as I thought. But here are some things I said I would do that really I need to get them done. So these become goals that are connected to my identity. Okay, because then I have to see myself in that light. And then my integrity will take me where I need to go because I've fully embraced who I desire to be based on who I was designed to be. You see, we're all designed to be somebody, or I should say designed to deliver some kind of gift to this world. Okay. Mine is talking. Okay. And not just spouting empty words. All right. I might do that sometimes, but that's not the purpose. Okay. That's a gift. Okay. And I have some other gifts. Okay. That I use. Writing is a gift. And I have another one I don't use as much, but singing. So but I used it, for years. But the point that I'm making, you guys, is that I have to look at all of that and I have to look at the things that I didn't get done. And then I make a decision about what's really connected to my purpose. What will take me where I'm supposed to go so that I can serve at the highest level, serve my greatest purpose. We are here to serve. We might not like hearing that, but we are all here to serve. That's why when people are complaining about, a lot of times about what Washington, for those of us that live in the U.S., about what the politicians in Washington aren't doing, we're sitting around complaining about that. The question becomes, what are you doing? What are you focused on? Where is your attention? See, when I have my attention on my purpose. Hasn't always been that way. Okay, I've always had the gift. Not always, but I've always had the gift, yes, but I've not always, I was going to say, but I've always been willing to use it. That part, not so true. However, but once I embrace the gift, once I decide this is my purpose, then that's my focus. Okay, that's my focus. The things that I can change and add some insight to so that things become better, I will do that. The things that I can't, I'm not so excited about it. I mean, let them fight it out, So the point that I'm making, there are people who are called to deal with that, and they will deal with that. And if they don't deal with it and we don't deal with it, well, we know the end of the story, right? Well, God's going to deal with it. So I'm not here to preach to you guys, but I want you to understand that when you set your goals, make them very powerful. Don't be afraid to expand your mindset. Don't be afraid to ask yourself, can I go bigger in my thinking? Okay. Am I trying to set a small goal because it's easy? Or am I setting what appears to be a big goal that I may not be able to achieve because I'm thinking it's unachievable, because I'm afraid? So which goal? But here's the thing. The goal that you think is unachievable is a good goal. And why is it a good goal? Because that goal isn't always just about you. That goal it means that you're not going to rely fully on your own, what I call your human power. Okay, God's going to kick in. See, God is the how. All right. And so God's going to kick in and you're going to be guided. Believe me, if it comes to mind and ideas and intuition comes from your spirit. So when they come into your mind, okay, then it's up to you whether you act on it. This is why your mindset is so important. I can't tell you the number of people, and we're going to wrap up on this. I can't tell you the number of people that I have either talked to. A few of them I've actually coached. A lot of the people that I coach, they have great ideas, big ideas, and they go on to do some great things with those ideas. And then there's some that I coach who realize that, oh my goodness, this is a great idea. They see it, the possibility of it happening. They even see it starting to work, and then they shrink it and they become afraid. So this is why it's important that you pay attention to your mindset and see what happens is their mind is expanding, but the minute they shrink it, they're not being honest with who they were called to be. So this is why mindset and integrity is so important, you guys. Now, this is a lot, and we'll probably talk about this some more. But if it is so important that you understand your identity, you don't have to be like someone else to fit in. We can all be different. And guess what? You'll find, as they say, your tribe. You'll find the people that will find you to be acceptable. And they'll want to be in your space, and you will want to be in their space. And you guys will amplify one another. As it says, iron sharpens iron. Okay? You won't sit around and beat each other up and think that you're better than someone else because what? I don't know. You might have $1 or $2 more, or because I don't know, you just think you are. Well, that's not your tribe, and you don't have to worry about that. The object of the game is for you to operate within integrity as it relates to you, and to allow your mindset to do what it constantly wants to do, which is expand. Okay, this is why we don't stay the same, and why we don't, why we continue to want more, or I should say desire more. And sometimes it is a want. Want implies that it doesn't exist for you, but turn it to a desire. That's an energy that draws it to you. Okay, desire isn't the same as want. We're not going to talk about that. I've talked about that on previous podcasts. Plus, I don't want to talk for hours. Okay, I try to keep these as short as possible, you guys. But as you set your goals, take it seriously. Okay, stop listening to all the people that say, "Oh, you don't need to set goals; you need systems." What are you creating a system around? The invisible? No, you want to set a goal. You want to have a focus. That way, you know the things that perhaps you want to work on, perhaps the things that you need to work on. If you have not kept your promise to yourself, that's an indication that I need help in this area, or I need to learn more in this area. The things that I truly desired to achieve that I did not achieve, even though it doesn't matter how much, I do give myself credit for achieving a lot of things, increasing the listenership on the podcast and these kinds of things. Okay. But the things that I said that really mean something to me, meaning that it's going to allow me to amplify who I was designed to be so that I can serve a greater purpose, some of those that I didn't achieve, that's where I'm putting my focus on. I've asked myself the question, do you really want to achieve this? Is this really going to take you where you want to go, or where you desire to be, and where you must be in order to serve your purpose? If the answer is yes, I'm resetting that goal, but I'm amplifying it. Okay, it meant I made that goal too small. Even though it's important, I made it too small. You see, this is how our power grows. This is how perhaps God steps in and says, okay, now I can do something with you because you're not squeezing me out by thinking small. See, small thinking can kind of be connected to fear. Why do we set the tiny little small, easily achievable goals? Because we don't trust ourselves enough to think that we can achieve bigger goals. So we're coming from a position of fear. So with that being said, I could go on and on, but I'm not going to. I'm going to wrap up now. And I want to leave you with two things. Number one, I want to encourage you to really put some time into establishing a very strong foundation, which would be setting your goals. Okay, that is your foundation. It's going to help you focus. We're not going to go into all of that. And number two, I want to invite you to participate in my newest course, which is called Identity Powered Goal Setting. And it walks you through everything. And there are resources that you can download. There's also a masterclass. Now, we've done that one live masterclass. We're going to do another one in a few weeks, and I'll be announcing that. And so when you sign up for the course, even though the masterclass is coming next month, then you will still be invited. If you've attended the masterclass, you can still come back if you've already attended the class. Okay. So I want to encourage you to take a look at that course because it is really priced right. Or I should say it's priced low, but it's priced like that because it's a brand new course. And as I start to add upgrades and new information to the course, the people that get in on the ground floor, well, you guys are going to have lifetime access to that course. And so just take a look, check it out, see if it's for you, because it is important that you pay attention to how you set your goals. Okay. We can no longer set our goals based on just things. This is why we have some of the problems, and I'm going to wrap up on this. This is why we have some of the problems and challenges that we have in society today. Everybody is looking outside themselves and looking at things. Okay. And I've had to learn some things about that years ago. And perhaps I'll talk about that in another podcast and you'll understand more about what I mean. Okay. Practice connecting with yourself. Okay. Really embrace your identity and set your goals based on your identity. You will align with it faster. And before you know it, you'll be doing life with power. For more information about the identity powered goal setting masterclass and course, go to designingyourlifetoday.com or designingyourlifeachieversacademy.com. I look forward to seeing you guys there in our live masterclass. And of course, there are several modules that you can participate in, along with worksheets that you can download and so much more.